what I would like to do is just kind of go over our third objective. And I just want to explain, how is this EAS course at Kenvic really going to help you succeed on the test? And how is it going to help you secure that teaching certification in New York that you're working so hard to attain? And the answer is, when we're preparing for these exams, there are a lot of challenges that we may face. So one of the challenges that I see a lot of students facing is there's a lot of academic terminology included in this test. There's a lot of terminology about child development. There's a lot of terminology about just the, American academic education system in general. So that's one challenge we might have. And then also, understanding what is the best way to respond to our scenario questions based on, American societal values. In the American education system, they really value holding all students accountable, including students. They're going to give you a lot of scenarios where, maybe a student is misbehaving and they might ask you, how should a teacher respond to this? They're going to look for teachers who are able to respond and say, we want this student to feel included. Here's how we're going to support them. So I'll be able to kind of help you understand, what are American principals looking for in your answers? What are the scorers of the exam looking for based on how the American education system works? We're also gonna, another challenge that you'll see is that writing essay responses is pretty tough, especially because they are timed. We do have that demand of reading the prompt, understanding it, and then responding in English, and making sure that it's grammatically correct and that the scorer of the exam can understand what we want to say. And then another challenge you might experience is just completing the exam within that time constraint. So this course is really going to help you overcome all four of these challenges. Um, so how can I help you overcome those challenges? Well, when we meet each time, so we would meet for 8 sessions, each of them is going to be 3 hours long. Each session has two different aims. One of them is for you to learn the content of the test. And then another aim is for you to develop strategies to be successful within the test. So within each 3 hour session, it's going to be integrated about 50%, 50% for each of these. For the content in each course, we're going to study all 5 of those competencies that we just learned about in depth. We're going to learn academic language related to teaching. So some examples that you may have heard of before, if you already have a background in teaching, would be differentiation, scaffolding, universal design for learning. Those are all academic terms that we need to learn to be able to succeed on this exam. Also learning the language of the exam. The exam was written in a specific way. It may seem very confusing at the beginning when we first start meeting and studying, but by the end of the course, you're really going to understand what they're asking you because it can be a little bit difficult when you first start studying. For strategy, which is again about 50% of that 3 hour time, we're going to learn strategies for working through this exam efficiently. You will be, so basically what will happen is I will teach you a new strategy. Then we're going to work through it together and practice it together as a whole group. Then I'm going to have you kind of practice it on your own or in small groups. And I'm going to look at your work and I'm going to give you feedback on it live time. Part of this is also submitting some outside coursework, and I'll get to that in just a minute. But really, each course session, we're going to spend some time learning the content, and we're going to spend some time, really developing our strategies and strengthening that toolkit. This is just a schedule of what a sample day may look like. Usually I start off the session by kind of reviewing the work that you've handed in to me, giving the whole class some feedback. Maybe I observed a trend. Maybe there's a skill we really need to work on together as a group. Then we're going to spend about an hour just on content learning. That's going to be vocabulary. Maybe the topic of the day is students with disabilities, and I'm going to be teaching you how to address the needs of students with autism. That's just an example. And then, of course, that second half is that strategy practice where I teach you a new strategy, you practice it, and then I give you feedback about how well it's going and how I think you can improve your strategies. So that's just a sample day. How to succeed in this course in general. Attendance and preparedness. If you come to all 8 sessions, so sometimes I will give you homework. It is very important that you invest in that and that you engage in it, because then I'll be able to look at your work and I'll be able to tell you exactly what you need to do to keep improving and get a better score on the test. Um, if I do assign homework and I never receive any from you, it's really hard for me to help you improve because I don't really have any work samples to go off of. So, to get the most out of the course, it's really good to be on time to every class session, submit work if I ever request some homework, because then what happens is when you come to class and I've reviewed your homework and I've been able to look at your progress, I do meet with each student for at least 5 minutes per class to give you individualized feedback. And it's just me and one student. So in each course section, you will have time with me just to ask questions. And I will also be using that time to give you very targeted feedback on how you can improve and how you can get your score higher. Another way to succeed in this course is to just participate. I know that we're all coming from, different levels of being proficient in English. That's perfectly fine. I'll give you many different ways to participate. I want you to feel comfortable. But overall, it's really nice when people participate in the class, whether it's typing up an answer in the Zoom chat or even just, being willing to share your thoughts verbally. I love the participation. I think it makes a very enriching experience. And again, we're welcoming people of all English language learning levels. So there's really nothing to be nervous about. And then it's always helpful to have your camera on because then classmates can see each other. It just helps it feel a little bit more comfortable and engaging. There will be times where I might put you with a partner or maybe two partners, and I'll put you in a breakout room so that you guys can discuss the course together. And during those breakout rooms, I typically allow you to discuss in Chinese if that's what you're more comfortable with, because if it makes it easier for you to engage in the content, I'm perfectly fine with that. Um, when we're together as a whole group, I do prefer English just because I don't speak Chinese. So, I really would love to hear you guys participate and hope that you feel comfortable participating as we get to know each other. So, those are just some ways to make our time together in the course as meaningful as possible. I can send this to you, and of course, you can look back at it. This is just the course outcomes, and we will go over that in more depth another time.